At the onset, may I also take this opportunity to thank Terry for involving and inviting UNDP to be part of this distinguished panel. We are also greatly honored to be among one of the long-standing partners of the Delhi Sustainable Summit. And this year is especially important because it brings about a balance between some of the most pressing priorities of our time, such as increasing disparities between wealth and economic growth, crucial climate change negotiations leading up to Paris and COP21, as well as the deliberations to finalize the Sustainable Development Goals and the post-2015 development framework. The success of this year very much, therefore, depends on the increase in constructive collaboration between all interested stakeholders, including government, the business, private sector, civil society, international organizations, as well as research community and the local communities. The topic for this session, engaging all stakeholders for the future we want, is therefore indeed extremely important, not only for the future we want for our children, our grandchildren, or actually for future generations, but also to ensure the success of global priorities that will determine and will be developed this year. It is also encouraging for us that serve in India to have the privilege to work in this exciting time and also to see the commitment of the government, as well as the personal attention that the Prime Minister is giving to creating some solutions that are really helping climate change issues as well. Our Secretary General was here last month and he visited Gujarat, where he opened a 10 megawatt canal solar plant, which was really the brainchild and the idea of the Prime Minister, and also shows that there are initiatives and really excited areas being tackled here in India. In the 5 minutes that I have, please allow me to just highlight 4 areas that I think are key challenges, but also key opportunities, and I think in many ways will make or break the future we want. The first is, how do we manage relationships between those that are not like-minded and those that are not like-situated? As I attended the summit, I was reminded of a previous high-level meeting that I attended on the environment. I will just indicate that it was not here in India. But during the tea break, I was fortunate to stand next to the Minister of Environment as well as a prominent civil society activist. They were very passionately explaining to each other why their respective positions were very important for saving the planet. The minister said that the problem with civil society was that they were often like chickens with their head cut off, and they were running in all directions without knowing where they were going. He was obviously implying that you need to have a strong government at the top and that they can give direction to the rest of the people. The civil society leader, on the other hand, was using a metaphor of a house, and he was saying that if you don't have a solid foundation, you will never be able to build the walls that will eventually hold up the roof of the house. And doesn't matter how, if you don't have a strong base, the house will always collapse. From his perspective, he was obviously indicating that you need to have a bottom-up approach and that communities form a large part of society that needs to be involved in creating sustainable solutions. The real funny part for me was at the end of the tea break, as they walked away, the minister said to the civil society person, "You know what, I would really like to agree with you, but then we will both be wrong." And in some ways, it reminded me of the challenges that we face during these deliberations and negotiations, that idealism cannot really overshadow political reality. Obviously, the important point to highlight here is that you have to have both top-down and bottom-up approaches to really create sustainable development solutions. The second point that I want to highlight is that managing the complexities of issues have to be discussed in a healthy environment. If one considers some of the major challenges and thematic areas that will have to be agreed upon, such as patterns of consumption and production, malnutrition and poverty, growth and demand for energy, climate change, biodiversity, increased renewable energy, water management, it is understandable to assume that the task at hand will not be easy. However, as those dealing with chaos theory often reminds us, that complexity can often lead to immobility or to endless opportunities. The role of forums such as this, the DSDS summit that brings stakeholders together from various sectors, is crucial to ensure that everybody can also understand the benefits and the advantages from where they sit, but also that the ultimate goal of ensuring the sustainability of our planet are at the forefront of these important deliberations. The third point I want to highlight is how to change behaviors and attitudes and get people to buy in. There's a common saying in participatory development approaches that if you get people to weigh in, they will buy in, or alternative saying that people support what they help to create. As was mentioned by many of the panelists before me, it is clear that the debate on climate change has changed from one which was primarily driven by certain environment activists to one that are central to government policies and decision. It is also true that bringing about behavioral change is not easy, but as indicated by Darwin, it is not the most intellectual or strongest of the species that survive, but the one most responsive to change. In my last point, I think I want to highlight something that has come up throughout the discussions, and it's how we move from summits and workshops to action. I often tell the story that when I was working in civil society development organizations, we had three issues to consider. First, you see, then you plan, and then you take action. However, now that I'm working in the United Nations, I often attend workshops and seminars where the three terms are you see, you plan, and you put in a file. And I think this is the real challenge for us. How do we move from analysis and developing great ideas and policies to really constructive change that will benefit the lives of people and ultimately also the planet, if we take concrete action at many levels to bring about change and also implement these policies? It is therefore important that we don't just have climate change architects, but also really work on climate change builders. Therefore, at the end of my short presentation, I want to thank everybody in the room, whether you are an architect or you are a builder, for the important role that you play to ensure development efforts globally become sustainable. UNDP and the UN family looks forward to partner and also take action with you in this important endeavor. Thank you very much.